So for many, for during the whole Warriors run, it's always interesting when you see history unfold because there's always the lingering question, how does it end? How
Mm,
does the great story end? And there's always the quote, it's super cheesy, but it's very applicable right now, you'll either die as a hero or live long enough
hmm
to see yourself as the being portrayed as the villain. And the one, Curry obviously got to relive as a hero recently with that 2022 championship over the Celtics. Still hurting over that. You see Clay, he has a legitimate reason he's injured, doesn't have as much athleticism. He's a little prickly, but it's not too overboard. But it's the third character in the trio that I was most worried about, that I was trying to warn people for years. It's been years, Rem. If people have been listening, it's been years. I said, if anyone on this team is going to be the toughest player to trade, toughest player to get rid of, and going to hurt them most on the court, I did say on the court, it was going to be Draymond Green. But I didn't take into account how much he would be hurting them off the court. And this, mind you, next couple minutes is nothing to go against his Hall of Fame case. He's a Hall of Famer player. I'm not saying he should have taken any fire out of his past, years. It's just now that passion and fire can no longer be as well replicated in his play. So it's coming out in other ways. And
mm,
it's a really quick downhill, unsurprisingly, with Draymond. But he is a Hall of Famer. He had his moment. He's still one of the best defensive players of all time. When you watch, just the smartest IQ,
yeah.
this is nothing against his legend status, but this is against him almost as a person now. I mean, it is on a
Oh.
person level. We are getting personal with Draymond because it's almost. I mean, it's not even basketball related at this point. He has been suspended 4 times since punching Jordan Poole in 2022. 4 times. 4 of his 6 suspensions have come in the last year. And when you look at those, when you go down the list, so many, almost all of them are very easily avoidable. Now, there are some that you could look at the Sabonis one and, you could kind of question, whether did he have to step on his chest, you know, but you look at the suspensions that have happened. So there's the LeBron altercation where he was,
Mhm.
making that swipe in the finals. And, something that they have to live with to this day, that he cost them a ring by doing that championship. There is the him getting suspended because of him chasing off KD, Kevin Durant, which, in that game which, still cost them also probably a couple championships. So that's at least 2+ rings
Maybe,
that
yeah.
Draymond Green took away from the Warriors. Great run, but he did hurt them. Now he was the reason for a couple rings in there too, but still hurt them. He had his let's see here. So we have they talk about in March earlier this year, he had his 16th technical. So
Mhm.
he had a suspension for that. There's the Sabonis altercation, where he stomped on his chest. There's the Gobert altercation where he choked him out, and the Nurkic altercation, in which is now indefinite. And when you look at the list of stuff Draymond Green has done to NBA players, it's crazy. I sent Rem a montage today. It's crazy when you
Can we
look
find
at
that?
back to back to back. It's crazy. I don't know if we have to get IT on that, but just to put in perspective what Draymond has done to NBA players, he has done each of these individual things. He has stepped on players. He has choked players. He's punched a player in the head. He has open hand hit a player in the head. He has elbowed players in the head. He has tackled players to the ground. He's dragged players multiple times to the ground. He's dragged LeBron Joe going up for the layups. He has dragged him unnecessarily to the ground. He has poked multiple players in the eyes. He's kicked players in the back. He's kicked players near the head area. He has grabbed legs. He has flailed at
Mm,
private areas. Like he has done so much throughout his career. And this is just consistent time and time again. And, before the Jordan Poole stuff, you could say, maybe, it was stretched out enough. It wasn't nearly as severe. But ever since the Jordan Poole thing, and now him with his own podcast, and you can just hear him backing himself up, almost talking himself into getting more angry, and then just his own play declining. You could just see it rising and rising and rising, and the organization not holding him accountable. For you people, homework for people at home, go watch that Steve Kerr press conference after that Rudy Gobert altercation. They backed him up. They backed him up so much. And even Draymond Green watched it later and was like, I didn't realize I held him that long. Like, I didn't even mean to choke him out that long. Like, even he was surprised of how severe his own action was. And the organization defended him. And the league trusted the Warriors in the Jordan Poole situation. This is reporting by Ramona Shelburne. She had an article that came up recently saying, the league after that Jordan Poole punching, they're like, they considered the history, considered the leadership, and they're like, all right, y'all handle it. Thinking Steve Kerr, who got punched by Michael Jordan back in the day, and the other guys could figure it out. And they let him, give him only a week suspension when sources, apparently there are voices within the organization who definitely thought he should have had a more severe punishment. And I do think it's because of this Draymond Green situation that Bob Myers eventually left. The reason why he decided to not stick around, because just the insane loyalty this team has to their players and not ever really, holding them accountable. And now the team is being forced by the league. This is it. This is it. When you look at that play that Nurkic was doing, he was doing nothing dirty. I don't understand how is he fouling him. He's like, I understand he's grabbing his waist. He is barely fouling him. And Draymond Green, there's many ways to flail. You do not see players 360 flailing. No, you've seen guys like Buckle fall on the ground, all that stuff, turning around and open hand hitting this guy. And it's going to be interesting to see the process that they go through, because now, obviously the president for the NBA Players Association, Iguodala, is involved in it. So that's someone he has known for many years, someone he's gone to battle, someone, someone we met and, seen in person. But, that's another thing for another time. But it's just, this is the thing of, and that's what Steve Kerr has said now in his interviews, in his press conference, which thank God he's finally admit. He's like, this is about Draymond Green, the person. We're no longer concerned about Draymond Green, the basketball player. What is going on with Green? Because he is getting violent. This is violent. This is violence. You turn around and smack a guy in the head. That's, you're an NBA, you're a world-class athlete. You do not get to have an excuse of, oh, I don't know what my arms were doing. You're too coordinated, playing at, one of the hardest positions, in any sports. Being an NBA basketball player, starting player, is not, they only so many players. There's no way as a Hall of Fame player telling me you accidentally smacked this guy in the head. So when you look at his history and all that's going on, this is just a really, really, really long way of me saying, I told you so. I didn't say he would smack someone in the head. I did not say the specific stuff, but I did say that him staying on the Warriors, it's going to have long-term damage. They should trade him while they can get pieces back for him. And now who's going to want Draymond? I mean, no one's going to watch Draymond because they hung on to him too long. Now they got to figure out what they're doing with Clay. They could have traded him for pieces, but he keeps going downhill. I mean, the Warriors are now a mess. I mean, they don't even have a winning record. Wiggins got benched for the first time in his career. You've got, the rookie. They're starting a rookie on what they're hoping a contending team. Curry has to go, start jacking up shots. He goes 1 for 8 in his last game in the fourth quarter because he just has to shoot what he can. So, poor Curry, just get him out of there. Poor guy, let him finally go to Charlotte. There's a reason we're saying these things. And it's not just because, we just see some things. You can see Draymond's consistent attitude, and it only is going to get worse as he becomes more set in his ways. And he believes, now he has to act out. And it's just, he gets more heat for his actions. And now he has to go further back. So this is, again, another feather in Adam Silver's hat of He just said, "You're done. You're done. We're not here to give a number." And that's what I love from the league. They're very serious about not putting a number on it. They're not saying 20 games. They're not saying 30 games. They're saying you figure out what's going on with you as a human being, because this is not you as a player. This is not waving around a gun. This is not, something criminal. Which, out in the street it might be. But this is something you got to figure out as a human being, that need to control yourself, because as an NBA player, you can definitely control yourself to not hit players. And yes, the NBA players obviously have empathy for Draymond Green. Gobert mentioned it in a press conference, but it seems like many of the players don't have any empathy for the Warriors not holding him accountable. And there's just players that are like, yeah, I don't want to get smacked in the head while playing against a guy. There's just general common sense that we can't have this in our league. So, and Draymond Green deserved the punishment he got. I am very, obviously not glad that this situation happened, but I am, pleased that the league put a hard stance on this, because there has to be a line drawn somewhere. You cannot turn around and smack a guy in the head after this ridiculous long history, especially it rising in the last couple of years. So, again, this is not, there's something that going on, like Kerr said, the guy that's had these suspensions, and he finally spoke on the Jordan Poole punch. Sabonis, Steph will never get help from, but he did refer to the Jordan Poole punch, the guy who choked out Gobert, the guy who hit Nurkic in the head. That's the guy who needs to change. And, and I totally agree with Kerr, and I really hope he finds the help that he can get. Obviously I want to see him playing out there. I love watching him. He's, what a Hall of Fame player, but the reason why I've been on this soapbox so much, and the reason why I keep pounding it, is because exactly why the NBA is getting mad, why players are getting mad, because the Warriors are not holding him accountable. They're not telling him to stop. And I partially think that's why Bob Myers left.
That was a full-on sliming.
Did we watch the video? The Draymond video? I think IT has it. And, the thing is, like, you put something together like this with a guy's history, you cut all of this stuff. It's a long career. It's 82 games a season. We're talking about a couple of isolated incidents over a couple of games. You put all of the clips together back to back to back. You can edit it in a way, it's for comedic effect, but just to prove the point, just to help support the case of what Sam's saying, because it's been a history, and like you're saying, it's been gradually getting where. Oh, here, maybe I mean,
here you go. 4 minutes. Or you found it?
Oh, did you find the one? I have the one you sent me, but we can watch yours.
Yeah, this one is. Yeah, we can do the one I sent you. That might be.
Well, here, we can watch that first because it's only like a minute.
Okay, yeah, this one is like 4 minutes. It's like, let me see. I don't know if it has. No, it doesn't have the Jokic one. Or the Nurkic. Yeah, it's just,
There's no sound.
Yeah, that Terrence Mann tackling, like, that's the kick in the back. Just dragging Kawhi with a mask on, dragging him down. That's not basketball. You're just dragging.
The tackling is wild.
And the tackling, that was because he was just mad he lost the ball. Like, you can literally see him poking someone in the eye. Is he crying? I don't know. Yeah, LeBron poked in the eye.
Was that wasn't even the one at the end of the game? Remember the play at the end of Game 7 where he goes to dunk the ball? Is that over Draymond? Mm-hmm. He goes to like posterize Draymond and misses it, and then like lays on the ground for like 5 minutes after. They don't even have that play in this edit too.
Grabbing legs.
There's stuff that they left out.
The head. Poking, yeah. No, they can only do bam. I mean, I love so much that Kerr.
That's the peak.
Yeah, I love so much that Kerr talked about that Jordan Poole punch, because it's about time he talked about it. I mean, it's just, yeah, no, there's a lot more longer montages that people can find online. I think it just shows like more replays of the same thing. But that's a really good snippet for y'all watching on Spotify. And yeah, I mean, hopefully Draymond gets the help he needs. But it's been clear for the last couple of years that he's been needing help, and with his play going down, it's just, and then just the other stuff going on, him figuring out his role on the team, not really shooting as much. You know, he has that, really, viral clip that goes out, whether he should shoot or not. Just a lot going on. It's just he's definitely been a microcosm of the issues with the Warriors as a whole. That it's just they have no growth. They don't hold their old players accountable. They don't give their young players a chance, and they're just stagnant. And it's a wonder that any of their young players have produced at all.
The funny thing about Draymond's season is, and you mentioned too that the defense has been stellar, and he is defensively right now. And we might talk about LeBron in a little bit, but LeBron is in that phase right now where the IQ is probably he has the highest IQ of any on-court player that we probably ever seen play basketball, and just Draymond Green defensively right now, the defensive IQ for Draymond is off the charts. The defensive impact is still there. And the box score numbers for Draymond this year have still been pretty good. I know, the scoring's never going to be there, 9 points a game. 40% from the field on the season is obviously not a good number, but he is 42% from three this year. And the last 6 games he's played before the suspension, he was 11 points a game, 50% from the field, 40% from three, 75%. Again, the shooting and the scoring's never been the thing with him, but he's still hitting shots this year. The defensive impact has still been there. But, the biggest difference with the Warriors this year has been they're not winning. And if they're, we have the play-in now, they're the 11th seed. So if the playoffs started tomorrow and we had a play-in, like they just wouldn't even be in the play-in at this point. And I know like you're saying, the off the court stuff has definitely been, there's definitely been some fractures, but with Jordan Poole thing as well too, like we've seen what he's done in Washington. So it's not like that trade hasn't necessarily been beneficial for the team in some way. So is there a world here where Draymond is like, I don't want to say taking unnecessary blame, because he is still doing these things, being overly physical and, like the choking and the punching, like, if we're going to start harming players, we probably need to do something to fix that. But again, in terms of the team, I don't know if Papa Price is winning me over from last week, but is he like, are the on the court struggles and the struggles of the team also being heaped onto him as well because of the off court stuff and because of, the impact? Is he just getting a little extra heat because the team is not winning as much?
I don't think so. I mean, you look at the choking, and I think with the choking, there was a reason why it was 5 games. You could kind of squint at it and be like, but I mean, when was the last time we've seen something like this egregious? Like just straight up, like Nurkic, like maybe he was jawing at him beforehand, but it wasn't like it was anything egregious. Sometimes like we've seen guys push around, but smacking someone in the head, like that's, and like Nurkic, like he didn't even like get up and get mad and in his face. Like you can see him, usually they'll say something, or even guys who are hurt, like once they get up, they'll like try to jaw at him or something. Like Nurkic didn't do anything. Like it wasn't like there was some enmity going on. So it was quite literally NBA. But yeah, it was quite literally an NBA basketball player doing his job. Like, wait, he's not supposed to guard you on an inbound play. Like, he's just supposed to be like, oh, I just, so he's literally doing his job, and he gets conked in the head. And he, like, it's clear that it was for impact. Like, you can see the windup. Like, that was not an accidental hit. So I don't. And the thing is that around the league, I do feel like, Gobert says he feels empathy. Like there are people who do feel like, he is receiving empathy from around the league. So it's not just straight, mad. And that's why, like I mentioned earlier, it seems like, people are blaming the Warriors more than him because, he has been like this. It's just, the Warriors have never really reined him in. And, but there's unlike the other cases, there is almost there's pretty much no gray area where you could understand why that level of force was needed for that situation. I don't think there's any argument whatsoever. And I think you know, I think the league, I think the players, you know, they protect their own. They do feel empathy for him. So the short answer is no. I don't think he's receiving too much blowback just because I think the league is still like, you know, they still care about him. They still, you know, they still feel empathy. They still feel for him. But at the same time, you know, what he did also was really bad. Like it wasn't like a little bit bad. Like it wasn't like, you know, getting spit like Chris, you know, Rajon Rondo spitting in Chris Paul's mouth, or like, you know, them punching each other. You know, it wasn't like Isaiah Stewart like last year where there was fighting and stuff. It was just straight up like I'm doing a normal basketball guarding on you, and then just turn around and bop him in the side of the head.
So did you see any like the Stephen A comments at all about the Steph Curry leadership?
Yeah, and I saw Kerr went back at him, and then I saw what's his face? Stephen A's response.
Do we need to get your take on that? Because he was what
Yeah,
Stephen A
we
was
can. I think he's
what
right.
Stephen A